Most turkey hunters fail on public land before they even make their first call of the day. Welcome back to the hills. With turkey season just around the corner, I wanted to take a moment today to hit on the biggest thing I see guys messing up on year after year after year on public land. This one thing ruins more hunts than bad calling, missed shots, or even pressure from other hunters. So let's get straight to the point. The biggest mistake that I'm seeing guys make year in and year out, and it never fails whether it's opening morning or we're 3 weeks into the season, is guys simply walking into the woods without a plan. I will see guys roll in 30 minutes before sunrise and they have zero info on the property that they're hunting on. They'll walk in and have this mentality of, I'm just going to go in here and try to make something happen, instead of knowing where the turkeys already are. And this leads to things like walking all over the birds, or bumping roosts, or sitting in dead zones, or even wasting mornings just covering ground where turkeys haven't been for the last 2 weeks. And this sounds like a simple mistake because the truth is, it is a simple mistake. So, with it being a simple mistake, that means there's a simple solution. There's going to be 3 key concepts that I tend to stick to every single turkey season. And that is going to be my preseason boots on the ground, my roost intelligence, as I like to call it, and then my actual plan making. So let's start with step number 1, and that is my preseason boots on the ground. And I treat it a lot like I treat any sort of scouting, whether it's deer, squirrel, pigs, whatever I'm hunting, I'm going to do basically the same thing. The only difference is the actual animal that I'm pursuing. So when I'm going after turkeys, I'm going to use data that I know from previous years, or things that maybe I've seen on YouTube or anything of that nature, and I am going to scout through some sort of internet mapping service, whether that's Onyx or Google Maps or anything of that nature, and I'm going to key in on locations that I think a turkey's going to want to beat. Then I'm not going to go overboard. I'm going to spend maybe 2 or 3 days a week leading up into turkey season. So a week before, maybe even 2 weeks before turkey season gets here, and I'm going to go in there and I'm going to look for things such as scratching or dust bowls, or maybe some loose feathers or droppings, whatever the case is. I'm going to be looking for the sign that the animal is actually there. If I find that sign, I'm going to note it down. Typically, I use things like Onyx, and I'll leave a little pin of whatever the sign is that I found that I mentioned just a second ago, and I'll pin that. Now, if I start seeing a bunch of those signs, so if I start seeing a bunch of dust bowls or a bunch of scratching or whatever it is, then I know that I have formed a pattern and that the turkeys are definitely using that area. So as simple as that advice might sound, it's a very overlooked thing that I think people just kind of blow right past. And it makes the second step of my 3-step process nearly impossible. Not 100% impossible, you can get lucky, but nearly impossible. And that second step is my roost intelligence. And I don't go out every single night and listen for roosting gobblers. I mean, sometimes I will just because I like to hear them gobble, but it's not necessary to become successful. I've honestly been successful just going out the night before season, or even the night before I plan on hunting the next day, and listening for those gobbles as they're up on the limb, or those soft tree yelps, or wing beats, or whatever it may be. I'm taking the information from step 1 in my preseason scouting, or even my in-season scouting, and seeing if I can put those puzzle pieces together and actually get into the turkeys. Even one confirmed roost can change everything. It will let you know instantly that yes, you are in them, or no, you're not. So if you go out the night before and you don't hear anything, chances are they're not there. Now, that's not always true. Obviously, on highly pressured properties And if you've got a bird that's not in the right mood or the weather's bad, that kind of goes out the window. But if I can hear one actually sitting on the limb before the sun goes completely down, I know the next morning I'm at least in the right zone. So you've gone through your preseason scouting, you've got your roost intelligence, you know birds are in the area. You, without a shadow of a doubt, can confirm that there is a gobbler within a few hundred yards of where you plan on parking and walking in. Now what do? Well, that's where your planning comes in. You have to form not just one plan, but in my opinion, a minimum of 3. So, plan A. Where do I think that turkey is going to go when he flies down? Right, so I've roosted him the night before. I know what limb he's sitting on. Heck, maybe even I put eyes on him, which I have done before. I have actually gone into a spot while roosting and been able to see through binoculars the exact limb that he was sitting on. That does not mean that I've killed that turkey. Now I have to determine where I think he's going to fly down. If you're fortunate enough to actually see him fly up, a lot of times you can go ahead and bet that that's where they're going to fly down. Not always the case. A turkey is still an animal. A turkey's going to do whatever a turkey wants to do. However, if you see him fly up, chances are he might fly down into that same location, especially as if he was with hens, or if it just makes sense in mountain country like I'm in, where he needs a runway to get up into the tree. He's probably going to need that same runway to get down. If you don't see him fly up, looking at things like onX, where that runway that I was just mentioning, maybe it's really, really dense cover that he's in and he's got a little patch of grass that he can fly down into. Whatever it is, key in on those locations. Then, if plan A doesn't work, you need to come up with a plan B. Where is he going to go when the pressure starts getting on him? Whether that be you calling at him, or other hunters coming in, or maybe he knows the sun's up and the predators are out and about and he needs to get away from it. Where is he going to go? Is he going to go into thicker cover up on top of the mountain? Is he going to go down in the valley where there's thick cover? Maybe he's going to go on to private where he knows and has not felt pressure from other hunters. And then, if plan B hasn't worked out, what is your plan C? Where is his mid-morning feeding zone? Is he going into the hardwoods and eating on nuts? Is he going out into ag and picking around for bugs? How is he transitioning in that mid-morning movement when he is no longer with the hens that he was with the night before? Go into turkey hunting with the mentality of, if I am looking or needing that first gobble of the morning, if that is what my hunt depends on, I'm already cooked. I'm not going to make it. I have to have contingency plans for not if, but when it does not work out. Because in turkey hunting, the only thing that I can guarantee you is that your plans will fail. Some of the biggest tips that I can give you when it comes to your actual in the wood hunting of the turkey. Don't call while you're walking in. Locator calls to figure out where he is if you think he moved or if you know he moved. Those are fine. But actual turkey vocalizations such as your clucks, your purrs, your yelps, things of that nature, all that does is triggers his instinct of making the hen come to him. Remember, a tom's job is not to go to the hen. It's the hen's job to go to the tom. So be very cautious of calling while you are actually walking in. Now, if you're in there with him and you're trying to figure out what his temperament is, or maybe you're making a move, I'm not saying don't call. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm a firm believer in calling. Some might even say I overcall. But while walking in, keep your calls to next to none, and if you do need to call, use a locator call. Tip number 2 would be get as close as you can without bumping him. So I've had situations where just because of the cover that was around me, or maybe it was just dark enough and I knew the property, I could get all the way within 50 yards of the roost tree. You have to be extremely careful when doing that. If they can see you moving under the moonlight, or when the sun comes up, if they can silhouette you with wherever your setup is, because remember, when he's in that roost tree, he's got a better perception and vantage point than he does when he's down on the ground with you. So get as close as you can without actually blowing your cover. Which brings me to tip number 3. Use terrain as much as you can. Whether that's you slipping through a draw, going in behind a briar patch, whatever it is, find the terrain, even at nighttime. Find that terrain that's going to conceal your movement. Walk as quietly as possible, but remember that a turkey beats us with his eyes before he beats us with anything else. And last but not least, and this goes back to what we were just talking about, if he doesn't gobble, don't give up. Just go to a different plan. Just because he's not gobbling right now doesn't mean he's not going to gobble in an hour. And on the flip side of that, just because he's not gobbling doesn't mean he's not closing in. A lot of times, if I'm actually working a gobbling turkey, when they shut up, that's when I know it's about to get real, because he's finally given up on me coming to him, and he's probably beating feet to make it to me pretty quickly. So if they shut up, don't give up. I'll leave you guys with this. Public land turkeys aren't impossible. They just really punish guys who go in there and wing it. I'm not saying you have to spend your entire life chasing these animals to be successful. At the end of the day, it's a bird. But you have to put in the time with your scouting and with your plan building and every little aspect that goes into turkey hunting. You can't just go in on a piece of public land where who knows how many other hunters are in there and have put in the work and have built a plan and expect to be successful. It does not work that way. Now, a little bit of effort takes you a long way. Build a plan and I guarantee you things get easier. And on the flip side of that coin, understand that if your plan fails, it's okay to go back to the drawing board and create a new one. I hope you got some good information out of this video. If you did, please leave a like down below. And while you're down there, leave me a comment on the biggest thing that you struggle with when it comes to turkey hunting on public land. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. And until next time, see you on the hill.